Okay, next we're going to have the wheat specialist from Michigan State University, Dennis Pennington, and he's going to go over crop harvest expectations and some reminders.
All right, thanks, Jeff. What did you all think about the tour today? Do you like going as a group like that? Was the PA system loud enough? Could you hear? Or do you prefer smaller groups and we rotate through, or what? Give me some feedback. What do you think about the way the tour went this morning? Okay, all right. Does anybody like to go back to the rotation system where we set up stops in the morning and rotate? I'm seeing a bunch of head shake. No. So, okay. All right. Well, that's important feedback because we want to design a program that works for you so we can deliver the programming that we need to. By doing it this way, we actually are able to give each of the presenters, each of our specialists, a little bit more time on the program because we spend less time moving between stops. So we're able to actually accomplish and cover a little bit more detail on our topics. So thanks for the feedback on that. Likely we will continue that in the future. George? Yep. Did everybody hear that feedback? Any other comments? Okay, I have to confess sometimes when I have to give repeating presentation, I'm like, did I cover that with this group or not? And I'm like, I couldn't remember. So, yeah, that is the benefit of doing it the way we have. All right, so anything else about the program here today? Any other feedback? Okay, let's talk about some harvest reminders. First thing is we are producing a food product, okay? We are not producing livestock feed, hopefully. We don't want to produce livestock feed, definitely, because we can't afford it. So wheat is milled directly into flour, which directly goes into food products. So we have to ensure the quality of the product that we're delivering to our grain elevators and to our mills that mill this wheat. So we got to make sure we keep that important. We want to provide a wholesome, clean product. One of the things that's important, sometimes we'll have a harvest where we'll have dry spots in the field and some places are ready for harvest and other places are not. And I get questions about, can I go out there with a desiccant and spray it to kill it off? Absolutely do not use glyphosate. If anyone in the supply chain knows that you did that, you will be rejected. And if you get a reputation for have done that in the past, you likely won't be able to find an elevator that'll take your grain in the future. So I realize that desiccation is on the glyphosate label. So legally, it's legal to do it, but the food industry will not accept it. So we have to follow what the food industry wants. And generally, we don't need to have a desiccant in wheat. It will dry down enough to where we don't need that. So it's a food product. We got to make sure that we treat it as such. There's a number of things that affect quality. You heard about some of these today. Vomitoxin caused by Fusarium head blight. Eric talked about sprout and Hagberg falling numbers. We didn't talk too much about test weight. But another thing that is becoming a bit more of a problem is some of these dockage things. So when they probe your truck, when you bring in a truckload to the mill, they pull a sample into their office there, and then they run it through a it's not like a clipper mill. It separates out the fines in like weed seeds and green seeds and everything else. So it separates everything out so they can clearly identify what is coming in. And what we're noticing, these are some things that we see are coming in more and more often over the last few years. So I don't know if you've noticed dockage in some of your loads that you bring in. That amount of dockage seems to be going up and up and up, but it's because we need to deliver quality grain. Okay, that means we got to have fan settings on the combine set up right, so that way we can blow the weed seeds and some of this chaff and things like that out the back. So hulls in the grain, that's one of the issues. Unhusked kernels. Green kernels is a little bit harder to deal with. It's harder to get them separated out. Some years it just happens with the weather, because we have some areas where, tiller heads might not reach physiological maturity as quickly as the main stem, and then sometimes those kernels can still remain green. So that can happen. So just keep that in mind, and then make sure we're trying to deal with weed seeds. And wild oat, which I believe is this one down here on the bottom, is very difficult to separate out at the mill. And there's no level of tolerance at the mill. They have to produce the high quality flour. And if they have to do a whole bunch of extra cleaning and extra work, it costs them time, it costs them money. And so that's why you're getting docked if you bring this stuff in, okay? So related to that, make sure you clean all your equipment. Anything that handles grain, wagons, trucks, combines, augers, anything that touches that grain, make sure you've cleaned it out. If there was some beans left in there or whatever from last year and it got rained on and it's moldy at the bottom of the auger, get it cleaned out before you start using it. If you used your truck to haul a different crop to the elevator, make sure there's not corn or soybeans hung up in the bin. Okay, just make sure all these vessels are clean. Things like dust, bird dropping, rodents, and those are other areas of concern for grain quality. And then what did the truck haul last? Sometimes we haul fertilizer and treated seed or dirt even in the trucks that we also deliver grain in. So make sure those things are clean so that you're delivering a quality product at harvest. I like to put up this, make sure you calibrate your yield monitor. There are a lot of growers that use their yield monitor to make decisions on their farm. They might variable rate apply nutrients. They might variable rate seed. They might, treat different areas of the field differently. That's based on the yield map you get. If your yield map is based on only half calibrated information, you might be making the wrong decision in the wrong areas of these fields with your variable rate application of products. So take the time to calibrate your yield monitor. It should take you about an hour to hour and a half. Do it at the beginning of the season, and make sure that that way the data you're collecting is good data, because sometimes no data is better than bad data. So these are the 4 key things to look at. Temperature, so that the temperature inside the weigh system on there will affect your outcome. So you got to make sure that that's calibrated what the actual ambient air temperature is outside. The mass flow vibration, if you think about that combine with the threshing unit engaged, running full throttle, just sitting there, there's vibration, isn't there? Okay? So this mass flow sensor that's mounted up inside, this is your unloading auger, so it comes down the bottom of the combine. This auger brings it up and throws it against this sensor. That sensor's mounted up in the tank, the grain tank on the top of the combine. If that thing's vibrating just sitting there, that might be sending voltage back to your display. If it's sending voltage, it thinks there's grain flow, okay? So make sure you calibrate. So we got to calibrate that as well. That's the the yield calibration is that mass flow calibration as well. So you want to go with low flow, medium flow, and high flow to the most accurate calibration you can get. So how do you get low, medium, and high flow? You've either got to slow down or harvest only part of the width of the head, okay? So that's the easiest way to get that adjustment. So you're getting, because you don't want to have, if you're in a low area in the field, you want to know what that yield is in the low areas, right? So how much flow is hitting that sensor in the low yielding areas? A lot less, right? So the voltage being sent to the cab that's calculating based on your ground speed, your yield in that area is going to be affected. It's going to be lower, right? So you want to make sure that you're properly getting that low flow number correct, as well as the medium and the high. You don't want to underestimate your highs. You don't want to overestimate your lows. So make sure you're calibrating the yield monitor. Sometimes distance is important. Most of the yield monitors now are using GPS with correction signals in them, so that is probably less of an issue as what it used to be. And then use accurate equipment for calibrations like handheld moisture sensors for doing a moisture calibration. Those are probably not accurate enough to calibrate your yield monitor. So take a couple samples down to your local elevator or where you deliver grain, or unless you have, one of the GAC, the grain moisture sensors at your farm shop. But take your grain to one of them places to do that, because we want to get good information if we're going to use those yield maps. And if you're not using yield maps, I don't care what you do. It can be way off. It doesn't matter if you're not using them, right? But who uses them, or I mean, who has them that doesn't use them? Probably not too many. But okay, combine adjustments. I'm not going to go through these, but you all know how to operate your combine. Keep checking it. Keep adjusting it. Check out the back of the combine every time you move to a new field, every time you go into a different variety, those kind of things. Just make sure you're not blowing kernels out the back. You shouldn't. Hopefully we won't have a high fusarium head scab year this year, but if we do, you will want to ramp that fan speed up to try to blow those fusarium damaged kernels out the back. So when you do move from field to field or variety to variety, that might change a little bit. You might have to change those fan settings a bit. So just stay on top of that stuff. Don't just set it once at the beginning and then combine everything. Okay, stay on top of those adjustments. And I'm going to skip over that. And I want to wrap up. We're celebrating 250 years as a country here, and that's quite a milestone. I've had the fortune of being able to travel to Europe, to Germany and to England and a few other places to see how they grow their wheat crops there. And you look at how things are there. I've been in buildings that were built in the 1300s. Okay, so you think about how much longer history they have compared to us. I think we've come an awful long way as a country, and I believe strongly in the things that our country supports, and that's freedom of speech and all of those things. So, in light of that, we are headed in toward our harvest season. We get busy. It can be hot. We're going to be working long hours. Be safe. Take care of yourself and your family. The last thing you want is to have an accident, and it can happen in a split second. So please don't let that happen. Do we have any veterans in the audience here? Are you willing to raise your hands? Let's give them a big round of applause. It's their sacrifices that they've made over the years, these last 250 years, that have allowed us to be where we are today. And I'm very thankful for the freedoms that you all have fought very hard to provide for the rest of the population. So thank you.